Hi, it's me. I'm jumping in here really quick to tell you about an opportunity that we have reserved for Resiliency Redefined podcast listeners. So, this is for you. We're offering a code, which is LAB, like literally like chocolate lab puppies, but that was too long. So, we just went with LAB, LAB, for you to have a discount on the next offering of the Stress Wisely Lab. This is a virtual learning experience where we come together, we problem solve, we critically think, we find exactly what you need. So for the next 90 days, you are well positioned to feel your very best. So October 27th is our next Stress Wisely Lab. The code for you as a listener of the podcast is LAB. As I said, Chocolate Lab Puppies was too long, so it's just LAB. And feel free to follow the link, sign up. There's a spot for you there. Thanks for listening. Now enjoy this episode of Resiliency Redefined. Welcome to Resiliency Redefined. I'm your host, Robyne, and I am thrilled to share with you information about resiliency, well-being, performance, education, business, parenting, and everything in between. I'm committed to joining you each week to talk about these big ideas and bring them into action, habits, tools, strategies, tactics that allow us to finally uncover what it takes to truly be well. And I'm just so excited that you're here. Today's episode about Resiliency Redefined is all things financial and wealth. Now, I had the opportunity to interview Mel Abraham, and let me tell you, he is a ball of energy and knowledge, and some of the tips and the tools and the strategies, or as he says, the intention that we need to be thinking about when it comes to our money and our well-being. Like, this is gold. And again, I love being able to like demystify super overwhelming topics like things like money and investing. It's not my area of expertise, but I'm so appreciative for all the money people in my world. And specifically, a big shout out to Mel for being a guest on today's episode. I hope you enjoy this as much as I enjoyed speaking to Mel. There's lots of little nuggets. I would literally call them pieces of gold in this episode for you. So I hope you enjoy it as much as I did. Without further ado, here's my episode with Mel. As you know, I get to have some pretty cool conversations with people, and this is a conversation that I've been so looking forward to. I'm a huge fan of Mel's podcast in terms of listening to this idea about building your money machine. I love hearing people get passionate about talking about something that sometimes can be scary, and they like demystify it, which I think is absolutely what our special guest Mel does for us today. So Mel, welcome to Resiliency Redefined. I'm just so glad you're here.
Oh my gosh, Dr. Robyne, this is a blessing and an honor to be able to be here with you.
Well, thank you for that. And I have to share, I would love to share this with you. So we have a mutual friend, Jenny, who is like, you guys need to have a conversation. So Jenny, a big thank you for bridging our two worlds together. When I was doing research for the book Stress Wisely, and I got to the chapter on money and finances, Mel, one of the things that stood out for me that just absolutely blew my mind is when we learned that people were more comfortable talking to their loved ones about their past drug use. They were more comfortable talking about politics, more comfortable talking about religion. Like they were more comfortable talking about pretty much every difficult topic more than money. That money was the one that they're like, this is the scariest thing to talk about with people who are close to me. And I was just blown away by that response that people are so scared to talk about money because it absolutely permeates every area of our life. It's every area of our life. It's tied into our wellness. So please, Mel, teach us your ways. We need to learn about how to have these conversations, what we should be thinking about. And you are absolutely so well positioned with all of your great work to tell us everything we need to know.
Thank you so much. And it is a tragedy for us to be in that kind of vein. But
Yeah.
I grew up in a household where it was impolite to talk about money.
Mm-hmm.
But like you said, money is in every aspect of our life.
Yes.
Whether we're at the grocery store, whether we're trying to do something, whether we're trying to plan, whether we're thinking about education, having children, getting into a relationship, a honeymoon, wedding, all the things have money to do with it. And yet, if we don't have the conversations, and it's one of the biggest stresses. Now, I don't know if this statistic is correct, and I need to look it up,
Yeah.
but I have been told multiple times that it's the second leading cause of divorce.
Yes. Yes. I have
Okay.
heard that as well. Yes. The second leading card. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a problem. And so, and now I truly believe that it isn't money that's the problem.
Mm,
It's the fact that we have never, well, there's this first part that we've never been taught about money.
yeah.
But even if we were taught about money, if we don't understand how to communicate about money, all the knowledge in the world isn't
Yeah.
going to help.
Yeah.
And so I think that the friction is caused by our inability to communicate, and then made worse by our lack of understanding
Mhm.
of money and investing and how it works and its position in our life or in our world.
Yeah. Oh, you say that so incredibly well, Mel. You're absolutely right. And I love that piece that you're tying there for us, that it's literally not the paper and the coins. Like, it is literally not the tangible, like, this is literally like a human created system that allows us to be in community, right? Like, it's this exchange system, this money, this paper, these coins, the gold, whatever we want to say with the value. Like, this is a created system that we have done so that way we can orchestrate and facilitate our lives.
Yeah.
Yet, so when we say like, "Oh, I'm scared to talk about money," like, people aren't scared to talk about like the paper and the pieces. It's all of the things that it represents. It's all of
Yes.
the other pieces there. And again, I just find it so fascinating that the strategy is avoidance. I see more often than not. Like,
Yeah.
people just avoid it, even though it has such an impact on relationships and on all of our facets, as we said, of our life.
I just had a conversation with someone who's been married over 30 years, and they told me I've never been able to have a budget conversation or a money conversation with my spouse. I go, in
Wow.
30 years.
Wow.
But you've had children, the
Yeah.
children have gone to college, you've
Yeah.
bought homes, you've done all these things, but you've never been able to talk about money.
Yeah. That's wild.
And I think that one of the biggest challenges is, and this is where I tell people or couples especially, is that when we think about talking about money, we make money the object we're
Mhm.
talking about.
Yeah.
And when I work with people to build wealth and everything, we always start with their life vision,
Yes.
because money detached from life is empty. It's nothing.
Yeah.
And so as a couple and everything, we need to start by having the conversation about a crafted vision for our life.
Yeah.
Because then the vision, and this is where we start to get it wrong. The vision will allow you to create a plan for your life,
Mhm.
and when it comes to finances, that plan will then define the strategy,
Yes.
and the strategy will allow us to know what the tactics are,
Yeah.
and then the tactics will define the actions. But what most couples are doing is they're having tactical
Mhm.
conversations.
Yeah.
Why did you spend that at the spa? Why did you
Yeah.
spend it at the golf club?
Yes.
What did you buy on Amazon? I mean, all those things. Those are tactical conversations. And they're only filled with judgment,
Mhm.
criticism, frustration.
Mhm.
Our job as a couple is to use money as something that brings us together versus divides us. And the way you do that is come back to the vision you have for your life,
Yeah.
and start every money conversation with reconnecting to the values and the vision
Mhm.
and the roles you each play there. Then when we start to talk about the tactical stuff,
Mhm.
it's in the shadow of the vision
Yes.
and not coming from a place of judgment, criticism, and scorekeeping.
Yeah.
Because there's no one wins in
No
that.
one wins. Yeah. No, I absolutely love that idea of we are getting it wrong in the sense of we're getting too much kind of in the weeds, getting about the tactics, the transactions, the interactions of the everyday. And
Yeah.
that, like, because we can't do that well, I think a lot of times it gives us this like idea that, well, there's no way we can do the visioning work because if we can't even talk about the day to day stuff, why do we think we can try to imagine the big bright future because we can't even do this right? And what I
Yeah.
love is that you're turning that upside down to say, no, no, no. Like if you do have that big conversation about like, what are our goals? What are we working towards? What do we imagine? And what are we working in terms of hope for? And what we're willing to work for, then we can like reverse engineer a strategy and the tactics. And then all of a sudden we actually are on the same page. And this could be something that could really enhance a relationship. It isn't something that has to be such a big divider, as you said. I love that. That's fantastic.
Here's kind of the contrary to the other example is I had a client that we had a conversation. I said, I need you to go home and I need you to talk to your spouse. Here's how I want you to talk to them.
Yeah.
And she sent me a note after. She goes, you're not going to believe what happened. She goes, we both realized that we were cheering each other on from the sidelines. We weren't on the field together.
Wow.
And she said, we're on the field together now.
Yeah.
And after 20 years, we actually just booked a second honeymoon.
Oh, I love stories
I'm
like
like,
that.
that is what the other mistake I think we make is we make money the painting,
Yeah.
but it's really just the paintbrush.
Yeah.
The masterpiece is your life.
Yes.
And money is just a paintbrush to paint the masterpiece with. And when we put it in that position, money doesn't control us because it's the painter that controls the paintbrush.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great analogy. Now, Mel, one of the things that I often see when I'm working with people, first and foremost, is there's that a wee bit about avoidance, right? They just don't even think about it. It's too scary. It's uncomfortable. The other piece I also see, and I would love you to help us kind of frame this for the listeners, is this idea I hear like when I have money, then I'm going to have a plan, right? When I have enough or when I have some security, then I'm going to become strategic. Then I'm going to start thinking about the future. And so often, I kind of pause. I'm like, well, you need to know, like, you need to know what you're doing now, right? Like the now part, it's not a when then, but I think that's a trap in so many different areas. When I have money or I don't have enough of it to start thinking about it strategically. And one of the things that I see is just like that narrative needs to get corrected big time.
Big time.
Yeah.
It's and here's let me and we'll do some numbers here so they
Yeah.
understand why. Because people will ask me, is now a good time to invest? Market's high. What do you
Yeah.
know? Yeah. And my response is, did you invest yesterday? No. A month ago? No. Then now's a good time because
Exactly. Start.
you cannot win the wealth game on the sidelines or the stands.
Yeah.
It's not a spectator sport.
Yeah.
You got to be on the field playing the game.
Yeah.
And what people don't realize is that 80% of money is behavioral.
Mm,
And I'm a left brain
yeah.
accountant, columns and rows kind of
Yeah.
guy, but the reality is it's behavioral.
Yes.
And no one out there has money issues.
Mhm.
And it's confronting when I say that. What they have is money symptoms.
Oh, tell
And
me
there's
more. I
they're
love it.
symptoms of the behaviors, the habits, and the choices they made in the past.
Yeah.
And that means as much as it's confronting, it should be empowering because that means if all we did is give you some new behaviors, some new habits,
Mhm.
and ways to make new decisions, your future's different because
Yeah.
math will always math out.
Yeah.
And and this is why I tell people if all you can do is $5 a week,
Mhm.
I need you to do $5 a week. Not because it's $5, but because it's the
Have
right
it.
behavior.
Yeah. Yeah.
And here's the math behind it. Let's say you want to build $1 million and you start and you're going to put $10,000 away at 8%.
Mhm.
The first $100,000 is the hardest
Yeah.
because you become someone different, you
Yeah.
generate new skills, you have new understandings, you have to bridge all of that. If I did $10,000 a year, 8%, that first $100,000 will take me 7.6 years.
Mhm.
But my goal is $1 million.
Yeah.
That $1 million, I can get to $500,000 doing the same thing.
Mhm.
It takes 20 and a half years.
Mhm.
And the most people think, well, crap. Sorry, I don't know
Yeah.
if I can say that, but
You
it's
totally
like,
can. Yeah.
I got another 20 years to hit the million.
Yeah.
No, no, no. Here's what happens because at the beginning, it doesn't feel like you're making progress.
Mhm.
It's what I call the wealth flat line.
Yes.
But time does the heavy lifting. To
Mhm.
go from that first half million to the second half million to get to the million, it took you 20 and a half years. That next half million takes 7.5 years.
It's
It takes
amazing.
less time to do that second half million than it did to make the first 100,000.
Yes.
And that is why it's so important to get in the game immediately.
Yes.
And now we're not talking about what to invest in, but
Yeah.
just as a mindset, as a
Mhm.
shift to sit back and say, I'm going to get in the game. I'm going to declare that I'm going to take control,
Mhm.
because if I can feel more in control of my money, the financial stress starts to dissipate, because the stress comes from I'm not in control.
Yep.
I'm beholden to either a job, a paycheck, and I
Mhm.
cannot make changes.
Yeah.
I promise you, you can make changes. I
Yeah.
didn't come from money. I'm a
Yeah.
son of an immigrant who came here at 17 years old. I
Yeah.
started in debt. I lost
Yeah.
1/3 of everything I owned. I made bad decisions.
Mhm.
I've done it all,
Yeah.
and I've recovered. I've built, and I've gone.
Yeah.
It's just the behaviors.
Yeah. I I love this on so many levels because one of the pieces that we talk about, I know I have like the 3 teenagers. So my oldest is 21, 19, and 17. And, everyone, when we are raising our families and people are, raising their kids, we want to make sure that they have opportunities. And I've always believed, because I had such a fractured relationship with money, that yes, I want them to, obviously do well and, be good people, but I always wanted my kids to have financial literacy because I wanted them to understand the compounding interest game,
Yeah.
right? Like that was one of the ones where I'm just like, I feel like this needs to be required education, that kids learn about this. And again, I love that. I feel that like that understanding getting into the game early, and the fact that like it doesn't have to be scary, and it doesn't have to mean you're going without. It means that like you're just being really strategic, and we like to have strategy. We like to go into, my family are big sports fans, right? So we go into a season and we want strategy. Like we want to make sure that we have a plan. And even for example, like when my oldest went off to university and we sat down and talked about a budget, this wasn't any way to like limit your fund. This is a way to make sure you are well funded, right? Like, so this isn't a
Yeah.
limiting fund thing. This is like, I want to make sure you have the funds. And I said, and again, being able to like have a conversation like mother to son about finances, making sure that, you realize that you are skilled, even if, quote, you're not a math person or you don't think you're this kind of person, the tools are there. And I
Yeah.
remember even, I'm very fortunate. My kids, Auntie Jill, she's a financial person, and she like introduced them to the compound interest calculator, and she's like, "Kids, play with this." And then all of a
Yeah.
sudden you hear like, I could have $24 million if I did this, this, and this. Like, we got to make these tools accessible, and we have to start the conversations, because you're right. Getting in at any point is so important. And again, so many people wait, I think, a wee bit too late out of fear or just not knowing where to even start.
Yeah. And for our youth, they actually think they have time.
Correct. Yeah.
And they do, but why not use time to your advantage?
Yeah.
So my son's 35. His wife's 32. They've got 2 little girls, 4 and 2. They've got
Oh,
at this, and I raised him from 6 years old as a single dad.
yeah.
I started talking with him about money at 10 years old.
Mhm.
I gave him 4 buckets to work with.
Mhm.
Today, they're sitting on 4 homes and a multi-million-dollar net worth. Now, as a
Yeah.
parent, I'm sitting back going, "Good, because he's not knocking on my doorstep."
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. Okay, tell us about those 4 buckets.
So
Yeah, tell me about the 4 buckets.
so the 4 buckets, the first bucket was a savings bucket.
Yeah.
So I started to pay him from my business,
Mhm.
and for those of us in the US, if you pay him out of a sole proprietor, you can avoid taxes. There's some special rules
Yep.
if it's a child under 18. And so that's what I was doing. And so I said, now you're going to take the money, you're going to use 4 buckets, and we'll talk about how to do it. And
Yep.
you can decide the percentages. So savings was one of them,
Mhm.
giving was another,
Mhm.
investing was another, and living was another.
It's
And I
amazing.
needed the 4 buckets, not because we needed the buckets. I needed the 4 buckets because I needed 4 conversations with them.
I see that.
And the savings one was about frugalness
Mhm.
and being prepared.
Yeah.
The giving one was about generosity.
Yeah.
The investing one was about the future
Mhm.
and options and choices and freedom in life.
Yeah.
And the living one was about priorities. We can't have everything. And so let's decide, because the biggest challenge for most of us today is we're bombarded with social media and what our lives should be like, and what
Mhm.
we're doing is running a financial race in the wrong lane,
Yeah.
because you said strategy, I say
Yeah.
intention.
Yeah.
You know, we're not intentionally spending and telling our dollars what to do for us,
Yeah.
but we're allowing media and everything else to do that. When we become intentional and say, no, this is what I need you to do because that's the life I want,
Yeah.
things shift, things change. And so those are the four buckets that I did with him. And then I did one other thing. As I said, whatever you put in the investing bucket,
Mhm.
I will match.
Yes. And I love that you share that even part of that with your son, but even like for us as grown-ups, like if we haven't started anywhere, this is a place to
Yeah.
start, right? This is a place to start thinking about that. And another dear friend of mine, Nick, he's the financial wizard in our world. I remember saying to him, I'm like, Nick, what's another strategy, right? Like I love that you shared your four buckets. And the question that I had is if you have a piece of like you get a chunk of money, right? For whatever reason, like you get whether it's a return or what inheritance, whatever it is, you get a chunk of money. I'm like, what do you do with it? And his little rule of thumb is a third goes into investments, a third goes against any debt, and a third essentially goes into like literally life, like literally just things that you want to do. Because if saving money and investing money is always painful and you're feeling that you're going without, that
Yeah.
behavior isn't going to get reinforced. So I
Right.
love that you like are creating those pieces around priority. Like you're creating those pieces around also that giving piece. Like we're just painting pictures with really practical tools for people to be like, yeah, this is a starting point.
And it doesn't have to be complicated.
Yes. Yes,
It it
exactly.
it's actually it back in the day, you know, it was more complicated to get investing in wealth, and you
Yeah.
had to depend on a broker. We don't.
Yeah.
We don't. We have access to it, which can be dangerous also,
Yeah.
but if you just keep it simple, one little step at a time, and I know that it for some people who have never done it, they're like, I don't even know where to start. I go,
Yeah.
yeah, but you know what? At one point, that's the way it was for tying our shoes.
That's right. Yeah. It's a skill. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a
it's a
skill.
skill. It's all learnable.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Now, Mel, question, because again, you're farther in your parenting and grandparenting journey. I'm curious about right now, one of the things
I don't
that
know
I
about the
see. Oh, there
granddaughters.
you go. Well,
I might be spoiling rotten right now. So
I love it. One of the things that I hear so often from like emerging adults, like so like kids kind of in that, 18 to kind of 30 range, I'm hearing from them is like they're seeing these like insane pieces of information coming out of social media where
yeah,
like, these kids are like making millions as streamers, as gamers. Like there's this such this like I think disproportionate representation of these quick solutions. And what we're trying to say is we want you to play with time. We want you to play a wee bit with discipline. And I think right now a lot of them are getting kind of bombarded with these quick messages of, quick success and quick wealth. And I'm just curious if you have any kind of suggestions or strategies or ideas when, you have that, you're looking at, going out to universities or colleges and the kids like, no, 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 I'm just going to, I'm just going to be a streamer and I'm going to make $1 billion. I don't need to pursue this or that.
yeah. So first things first, I think we need to be very, very careful and not confuse what's being paraded on social media as the reality
Okay.
with the truth.
Mm,
Okay, because it's not. I know a number of them,
yeah.
and they'll brag about their numbers.
Yeah.
And now there's two things: we can build wealth and still have a bankrupt life, and a lot of them are miserable.
Mhm.
Now that's one. Two, most of it is not overnight.
Yes.
Most of it
Yeah.
is taken a lot longer. Like, I'm a content creator. You're a
Yes.
content
Yeah.
creator. It's a lot of work.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm.
It takes a lot. And all it takes is one troll comment, and if you're not, don't get that thick skin,
Yeah.
it destroys you. And the thought that I'll just publish it and they will pay me.
Yes. Yes.
No.
Yeah.
And then I I feel like I need to say this, but it could be a hot take. But
Yeah.
I know that there's a whole lot of people making a lot of money on OnlyFans.
Mhm.
Okay,
Yeah.
now OnlyFans won't work for me. It would be Lonely Fans for me. But um, But there is also the question of how much of your character are you willing to compromise in your pursuit of money?
Yeah.
And when we make money the masterpiece, it becomes the master of our life.
Yes.
And so the very first thing is to get really clear on your values, your
Yeah.
character, and start to move forward.
Yeah.
Then we look at it and say, I need a sustainable thing.
Yes.
I need some way to build wealth. Could you have hit it out of the park if you happened to buy crypto at $20?
Yeah.
Yes. Was it probable? No. Was it volatile? Yes.
Yeah.
And so when you start to sit back and say things like, I'm just going to be an influencer, I'll be a content creator.
Yeah.
Is it possible? Yes.
Mm.
But you're also putting your financial future and your life in the hands of an algorithm.
Yes. Wow.
It's out of your control. And so wealth and richness needs to be something that we can replicate.
Mhm.
That is a principle. Principles withstand time,
Mhm.
and wealth building principles withstand time. And so I think that we, as hard as it is for some of them to hear, the better thing to do is to sit back and say, okay, if I want to do that, I can do that. But that can't be the sole journey I'm on,
Right.
because
Yeah.
the probability of success isn't high.
Mhm.
So if I choose to do that, how can I raise the probability by adding something else to it so I have additional income streams, additional places to fall back on to make it happen?
Yeah.
But it seems like all I got to do is do a couple videos and I'm going to make money, and that's truly not the case. I've been in this business, well, early on, since Jenny's been in the business.
Yeah.
Okay. And so it's been a lot of years, decades. And
Mhm.
I've watched people come and go. They've gotten burned. Or on the other side of it, just like athletes,
Mhm.
okay? They make a lot of money quick
Big day.
and
Yeah.
they think that it's going to stick around.
Yeah.
And they don't manage it, they don't take care of it, and they don't put it to work for them.
Mhm.
And before they know it, they end up like Mike Tyson
Yeah.
or actors like Nicolas Cage
Mhm.
and those folks that lose it. And now they also lost their luster in their influencer business. And they go, now what do I do?
Yeah.
I've got nothing to fall back on.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I appreciate so much all the things that you're saying and that idea about like using our critical thinking skills, right? Like I
Oh,
love that idea about what you're saying about like principles are principles for a reason. And like what we're seeing is like a highlight reel of some like basically some outliers where they've been able to have this like temporary or what would be perceived as like this
yeah.
overnight success. But again, even that comes at a cost. And for those that are willing to pursue it, that might be something that, when you actually take a step back, we realize like, and that's not the long game, right? That's
Yeah.
definitely not the long game many of us want to be thinking about, which is just remarkable. So one of the things that we do on the episode, and again, I'm super mindful of your time and I appreciate you gifting it with us. And one of the practices we do, we talk about this as like the wellness relay. And what happens is the previous guest will leave a question for the next guest, even though they have no idea who the person is. And to kind of in the spirit of what Stephen Bartlett does on Diary of a CEO. So I'm wondering if you would be open if you wanted to hear the question that the previous guest left for you, Mel, and then you're welcome to leave a guest for the next person. Are
I
you
am
open? Are
I
you in?
am totally open for this.
Oh,
This is kind of cool
oh,
and
there you
scary
go.
at the same time.
I know. I love this because we never know. But what I find so fascinating is so often there's like this conversation happens and then this little kind of piece that we kind of tag on the end, and then it always makes sense. That's the thing I just love about how things unfold in real time. So the question that was left free, the next guest, which is you. So what do you hope the next generation understands about resiliency that perhaps that we haven't figured out yet? That they haven't figured out yet. So what do you hope the next generation understands or figures out about resiliency and as maybe it relates to wealth building or as it relates to finances? What's one part about the resiliency side of it that you hope for the next generation?
I think that if we just understood that now is just a moment
Mm,
and it's not permanent,
yeah.
okay, that whatever our age or stage or circumstances that we get dealt, we get a choice to how we deal with it. We didn't touch on my cancer. It was
Yeah.
not something I planned on
Yeah.
getting. No one plans on it, but I wasn't a candidate. No one in my family ever had cancer. I was not a smoker, not a drinker. And all of a sudden, they find a 7.5 centimeter tumor in my bladder. And in a moment, life slapped
Wow.
me in the face.
Yeah.
And there was a time there where I was, my wife and I were crying and trying to figure it out. But then there was a moment, a tipping point in and it didn't take but a couple days to say, okay, I've been dealt these cards.
Yeah.
How do I play them the best? And I think that what the moment that happens, whatever it is, doesn't have to define us
Mm.
and it doesn't have to control us. We have to find the pathway to say, all right, what's it going to take? And the challenge, because my cancer came back, and I had a friend who I was talking about because I was kind of spinning out of control. And he says, let me ask you something. Do you know your outcome? I said, well, I know what I want my outcome to be. He
Yeah.
says, well, then you know your outcome. You know that you're going to beat this. You know that you're going to do this. And I said, okay. He says, with that in mind, what do you need to do today
Mhm.
to, to take a step closer to that?
Wow.
And I said, I would do this. And he said, great. And after you do that, what do you need to do tomorrow?
Mm.
He said, one day at a time. He
Yeah.
says, unfortunately, this happens to be cancer, but that's just the way life is. So just keep living your life
Yeah.
one day at a time, one moment at a time. And knowing that the reason we make a decision and make a step is not to solve it completely, but to get better information to take a better step the next go round.
Yeah. Mel, I'm just like, my heart is just holding so much space for you right now, and just how bravely and beautifully you shared that gift of knowledge and wisdom to pass on to the listeners today. And again, it's so remarkable when we think about human resiliency and all of the different forms and ways it shows up. And what I love that you shared there on so many different parts of it, but specifically just that recognition that, when you first received your diagnosis and the subsequent second diagnosis, is that you held space for the vulnerability that it was a lot, right? It's that we don't have to all of a sudden jump to being okay and actioning it and getting strategies and tactics. It's, you allowed yourself to be like, this is a lot, giving yourself time to process it as best as we can with the information that you have, and you and your family. And I just appreciate so much you being a voice for sharing the part that when we're going through hard things, like, it's okay that we're also not feeling very resilient at the moment. And that doesn't mean we're not resilient. It
Yeah.
means it's just part of the story. And then with the right supports, with the right ideas, the right mindsets, the faith, the belief, the tools, we can then put ourselves and say, okay, I'm showing up bravely in the face of this really scary thing, and I'm going to live each day. That's the best we
Yeah.
can do, is just keep showing up. So thank
Yeah.
you for sharing that. That's
Oh, you're so welcome.
powerful. That's powerful. And, another dimension, just to kind of put a thread through this. So often when I work with people who are going through really difficult things like a diagnosis, a loss of a job, like, just again, something that just throws you this curveball you never saw coming, being able to have resources is such a privilege and a gift. Being able to have made wise decisions, so that way, you're able, whatever outcome might be, that you are resourced enough, whether it's through, again, your investments, your insurance, whatever it is, that, it's like, yeah, okay, I'm making good choices, and I made good choices yesterday, which means that today I'm okay, and the things that matter most to me and the people that matter most, we're going to be okay tomorrow, no matter what. That's a component of resiliency and financial resiliency that I just think is so powerful.
It's huge. It's
Yeah.
huge.
Yeah.
Having having options
Yes.
and choice in life.
Choice. Yeah. Absolutely. Mel, you are such a bright light shining in so many different directions. I just want to say thank you wholeheartedly for spending some time with us. I definitely hope this is just a part one of a part two, because there's so many other areas. Thank you for telling us about the 4 buckets and just how significant that was for your family. And also sharing so bravely about your story and the wise wisdom that you're passing on to the next generation. So, Mel, thank you for what you do and spending time with us today here.
Oh, it's a blessing and a gift to me. Thank you for having me.
Take good care. Thank you for spending time with this podcast episode today. I hope you found something helpful in Resiliency Redefined. please feel free to share it with somebody who you might think could benefit. Maybe there was something useful, something in particular that you think you could pay forward. Also, if you have a moment, please feel free to rate and review this podcast wherever you like to listen to your podcast. It means the world to me. And again, thanks for your time. Thank you for your interest. Take good care, and I'll see you next time.